So we were used to traditional business. That's all that we've ever known. And Ted's family and my family we're both raised in a household of traditional business, that if you want to be your own boss, that you own a building and you start a business and you unlock the door every day, you go in, you wait for customers to come in, that whole thing. And so the whole network marketing to us was just like complete confusion. Like, how do you even do that? Is it for real? We heard people talk about doing well in companies like this, but we didn't really know someone that did that. So what's great about Plexus is there's so many people that we began to find as we got into the business. So how we got into Plexus is we were just looking for something to lose weight. That was it. That's the only thing that we were looking for. And my cousin and her family had been using the products, and my uncle had lost about 25 pounds in about 3 or 4 months. And so we noticed that he was drinking a little pink bottle of water. My husband had been visiting him and his wife, and his wife would mix up this bottle of water, set it on the counter in front of him every single morning at breakfast, and he would drink it. But they never said anything about it to us. And so 3 or 4 months went by. My husband, Ted, got home, and we had noticed that Steve had been losing weight, and his daughter was posting some things on Facebook. And we were driving down the road one day, and my husband said, "You have got to do something." How many of you guys know that when your husband doesn't feel good or he's gained weight, it's all your fault, right? Yeah. So he was like, "You have got to do something for me to help me," and he just was really bloated, and we were really, really stressed out. In our traditional businesses, we're in the home products industry. And so when the turn of the economy happened a few years back, 2008, 2009, it really affected us later. We live in a small farming community in Southern Illinois. And so like 2010, 2011, it really hit us hard. And so I don't know about you guys, but when I'm stressed out, double stuffed Oreos really make everything a lot better. So I had gained a lot of weight too. And so we were both miserable, not sleeping, no energy, just like that fatigue had set in on us with the stress load that we were under. And so we called my cousin and said, what is this whole pink drink everybody's drinking? How do we get it? What is it? And so she explained to us that we could become her customer. And I don't know about you guys, but we love the word wholesale. So we decided to go ahead and join the company because we wanted the cheapest buy on the products, just to be really honest. So we both joined that night. At that time, the company was newer, and we didn't really know what we were doing. We actually thought you had to kind of join to get the products, that's the only way you could get the products. And so we learned a lot at the beginning because, remember, we had no idea what we were doing. The thing about it is the products we fell in love with, we started feeling better immediately. We had more energy. We were sleeping better. One thing that I loved is that at 3, 4, and 5 o'clock is when I was like done. I just wanted to get home and get to the couch, fix my kids' supper, and then I was done for the day. And the thing that I loved about it right from the beginning is that at 5 o'clock, when I had given my best all day long to my customers and my employees, at 5 o'clock, I was starting to have more energy, and I could give my best to my kids and my family. And I loved that about it. But remember, only signed up for this gig for weight loss. That's it. And I wanted the wholesale price. So my husband obviously started losing weight before me. And I don't know about you guys, but that just seems to be the way that it is. The guys seem to lose it fast. For me, it was that 6th, 7th, and 8th week that I really started to notice that I was starting to lose some weight. I did get really frustrated, to be honest with you, because, I guess I thought it was supposed to happen in 2 weeks or something, but I stuck with it, and I'm so glad that I did. And here is why. Only wanted weight loss, but I have something that's called interstitial cystitis. And what that is it's the lining of your bladder deteriorates. So it's like having a very painful bladder infection times about 100. Stress can set it off. Acidic foods can set it off. Sugar can set it off. There's a lot of things that can set that off. And basically what happens is your bladder will start to have a spasm when it's under a big stress load. Kind of like having an ulcer or something like that. You know, if you have that and then you get upset, it kind of activates that. And so I'd been on some medicine for about 6 years. It cost me $365 per month after my insurance. It's very, very, very expensive. And they said that was the only thing that they could do for me. Well, I only wanted to lose weight with Plexus. I had no idea that I was going to get relief. And so that 7th, 8th, and 9th week, I was able to get off of all of my medication. For 2 years, I have not been on any medication for that. So the products obviously have changed my life. My husband doesn't suffer from acid reflux anymore. His HDL cholesterol went up. We both have lost over 25 pounds. But we seem to talk about everything else that it's done for us besides just the weight loss. It's hilarious because that's the only reason we wanted to do this. But the weight loss has been amazing. The energy is phenomenal. And it's the natural products. And so I love that about this company. So what do you do when you fall in love with something, service, product, whatever? You tell everybody. And so what did we do? We started telling people, man, I feel good. We would mix our drink up at the ball games or whatever. And people were asking us, what is that? You know, why is my husband, ex-construction worker, drinking this little pink bottle of water? You know, so it's kind of funny how it all kind of fell into place, but people wanted what we were telling them that we were getting out of our products. And of course, we shared the opportunity with them because you see, we had made $50 in the first month. No, we didn't know why, but we got a check in the mail. It was actually $49.75. So if you're an ambassador, you know that that's your business building bonus, right? Ted signed me up. And so the next month I had shared with some of my girlfriends and I had made $250 because see, I went silver, didn't know what I was doing, but I got that $100 bonus, signed 3 people up. When I got those checks, I took them into my husband's office and I said, we're getting checks from Plexus. We've got some more and I don't really know what they're for or why. And he said, well, call and find out, you know, call your family and find out. And so I remember calling them, asking them, you know, we're getting these checks, why? And they were getting them too. So they're like, I don't know, but we're all getting checks. It's great, you know? And so I'm sure you guys understand the compensation plan, how that works. Everyone can benefit from almost every aspect of this business. So we had met Deborah Lawson a few weeks after we got this $250. And let me tell you guys, that $250 for us changed our life because the month before we had dumped our change bowl out to make our house payment. So we were in a bad place financially. And we had met Deborah Lawson. She's another Diamond Ambassador at the St. Louis Home Show. And when we met her, we saw her in a booth. And my husband said, let's go up and act like we don't know anything about Plexus. And so, but really we didn't know anything about it. So we walked up there and we're kind of talking to her. But a week before we met her, let me back up a second. My husband, when we got those checks, you know, we tried to find out what we were getting them for and if they were for real or what was going on. And what my husband did is he said, listen, we made $250 and we didn't even really do anything other than share something that we loved. We need to find out what's going on. And so my husband did call into corporate. He was on the phone with a guy at customer service for over 2 hours. So I wish I knew the guy's name so I could like send him a gift certificate now or something. But he explained the whole compensation plan for Ted. And Ted is a numbers guy. Like he's very analytical. He wants to know where this is coming from and how do you do this and how do you do that. And so when he started talking to this guy, he said, why are we getting these checks? And the guy said, well, that's from our compensation plan. And Ted was like, compensation plan? What is a compensation plan? And so he explained everything about Plexus and, you know, how network marketing companies work and how we were getting this money. And so he went all through the steps, silver, gold, senior gold, all the way up to diamond and explained to us. And so he came home after talking to him and he said, there is something to this whole Plexus thing. They have a compensation plan. And of course, then I was like, what's a compensation plan? And he said, it's a unique way that you can build a business and residual income. And he started sharing what he had learned from the guy at corporate on the compensation plan. And he said, he goes, what if we could just make our house payment? He said that would help us so much if we could just make our house payment. And so we thought, well, yeah, we'll kind of piddle around and see what we could do. Okay, so fast forward, then the next week we met Deborah Lawson, walk up to her little vendor booth at the home show, acted like we just wanted to know about Plexus. So we heard about all of the products, and we just couldn't do it any longer. She was so sweet and so nice, and we finally had to tell her that we were actually Plexus ambassadors. And, of course, we were like family within 5 minutes to her. If you guys know Deborah, she's a great friend in the business, and she started telling us that she was an Emerald ambassador. And my husband said, oh, you're an Emerald ambassador? She said, yes. And he goes, can I ask you something? And she said, yeah. And he said, can you tell me, what does an Emerald ambassador make? And at that time, we didn't have the income disclosure statement, but he knew that this guy said, once you get to Emerald, you get to go to Maui, you get a car, and you get a really good bonus. And so Ted was just interested in Deborah telling him, what does an Emerald ambassador make? And she ignored him and started talking to me about the products again. And so he patiently waited for her to finish. And he asked her again, a second time, could you tell me what an Emerald ambassador makes? And again, she ignored him and started talking to me again. And so he was so patient and just stood there. And the third time she kind of stopped talking, he said, could you please tell me what an Emerald ambassador makes? And I looked at him and I was like, Ted, I said, we've only known her for 5 minutes and you're asking her what she makes. And he said, well, and he explained to her that he had talked to corporate and this unique compensation plan. And he knew that when you got to Emerald, that changed things. And so she said, she did not want to tell him. And so she told him, she said, last year my 1099 was over $150,000. And he goes, okay. And she went on to say a few things, where she was from and that. And Ted said, well, we could never do that. Immediately, he said, we could never do that because, see, we're from a little, he calls it a podunk town, farm town, hick town in the middle of a bunch of cornfields and bean fields. And seriously, that is where we live. And he said, we could never do that. We couldn't do it. And she goes, oh, no. Let me tell you, I live in a town of 1,200 people, and my county is 7,000. And we had shared with our town was about 7,000. Our county was about 32,000. And she said, no, you don't understand. Let me tell you where I'm from. And so she did. And then she said, I'm an Emerald. My husband's an Emerald, and my best friend that lives one or 2 miles down the road is an Emerald. So don't tell me that you can't do this. And she got right up in our business. We became very close that day. And she really shared a lot of things. She inspired us, because she didn't know that we were in a bad financial place. And when she said, I'm an Emerald and my husband's an Emerald, Ted, really quick, being the numbers guy, he thought 150, because that's what she told me. That makes 300, right? And we had about $400,000 in bad debt that was about to swallow us. And when we left there, we have about an hour drive home to where we live. And he said, no disrespect to her, but if she can do this, we can do this. And I was like, looking at him like, I can't do another thing. We're already failing at all these, normal businesses, traditional businesses. He's like, no, if she can do this, we love the products. We love how we feel. If she can do this, we can do this. And so we came back home and we went to work. And in 4.5 months, he and I both hit the Emerald position. We won our trip to Maui. We won our vehicles, and we got thrown into that Emerald pool that she was telling us about. And so I'm glad you asked me on the call tonight, because we didn't build our business on social media. We built our business doing events. So that's the gist of my story.
Awesome. Thank you. I love hearing that, because, as much as we've talked, and we've talked at many, many events, I haven't heard your full story. And Ted's told us a lot of things, but I haven't heard you tell it. So It was really interesting. What year did you start? When did you start Plexus?
We signed up in November of 2012. We took the products for 2 months and didn't say anything to anyone. And then in that, that 6th to 7th week that I mean, we talked to our friends and family about more energy in that, but when we started losing weight, for me, I lost 25 pounds in 3 months. And so people then, started asking me. I had a really slow start, but now that I'm educated on gut health, I know why I didn't lose weight at the beginning, and I'm really glad that I stuck it out. Um, and so in February of 2013, Ted signed his second person up. That's really when we started working in the business, was February of 2013. He's a sapphire and I'm a diamond. We both did that in about a year. So.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And so you've been in the company longer than I have. So, you guys, being that you're both, jewels, you guys know a lot about Plexus. And like you said, you started your business without social media or without really using that. And so, with our team, we use social media for almost everything. I mean, we've all advanced with Facebook. I mean, honestly, that's mostly what I did. And I think that it's doable on social media, but I think that it depends on your market. A lot of it depends on your market. It depends on your contacts. It depends also on how fast you want to go and how far you want to go. And, like me, Jessica, we're talking today. It all depends on what avenue you want to take to get there. Yeah, I always tell people at my events that I go to that it's not necessary that you do them. I mean, if we wanted to do parties every day, we would have joined a different company. We don't, with Plexus, you don't have to do parties. And so, but some people want to. Some people want to do the sip and sees, and we're going to talk about those. Some people want to do opportunity events. I definitely think you need to go to those. You need to go to stuff, especially the Plexus sponsored things. It's so important to go regularly, go be around other Plexus ambassadors. But in my new area, when we just moved here about a year ago and started all over, did not know one person here when we moved here. And so we started our whole team over here. And for some reason, this area seems to like the sip and sees and the opportunity things more than my team did in Oklahoma City. In Oklahoma City, most of my people, well, for one thing, a lot of my team was not local there. So a lot of the stuff we did online, we did a lot of training online, did a training call every week, just like this one, every Thursday. And so for me there, I didn't do those. But for here, it seems like a lot of people want to do these. So even after I already hit Diamond, I'm seeing now the benefits of going to, and I always went to events, but as far as having these are the opportunity events or sip and sees or boot camps, I'm starting to see the benefits of those a lot more now that I am in my new area. Do I think they're absolutely necessary? No, I don't think the sip and sees is a must for everyone, but in some social contact people, they love that. And so for them, it grows their team really fast, because what better way to bring all of your friends and family together and at one time let them hear about the opportunity and the products, then doing it all at one time. That's a great way to do it. But you can also do it, on Facebook. It doesn't have to be done like that. So Jessica's going to talk to us a little bit about the different ways. We talked a little bit today about the different events that we do with Plexus. And so I'm going to let you take it, Jessica.
Awesome, guys. I'm so excited to have two diamonds on my call. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited to have you guys here. And I know we're going to be taking a lot of information from you guys. So if you have your pens, guys, make sure you're taking notes. I want to talk about, first of all, we always talk about how to be a better leader, right? And Jana and I were talking today, and I can't go to an event for you. And I think that's so important that we say that in the beginning. I can lead you and I can invite you and I can encourage you to go, but I can't actually go for you. So it's so important that you attend. So that's just something I wanted. That's from me. All right. So Plexus events. I think it's important that we effectively promote. So how can we effectively promote a Plexus event, whether it be, since we're kind of talking about everything, whether it be a sip and see, whether it be a training call like we're having tonight, because you want your people to grow. So we want them on these kind of things. So how can we effectively promote it? Angie, can we start with you?
Sure. I think there's lots of different ways. So I love the differences in how, all of us have built our business, because I think that there's not one way to do it. And so this is a great subject to have a call on. I think for us, one thing that we have done is created a sense of urgency. And so taking a little bit of like that traditional business, in a traditional business, you want to create a sense of urgency. Like, people don't like to be left out. People don't like to miss out on something great. They want to be part of something, and they want to do it as soon as they find out about it. So, I think that's why it's really important. If you're a new ambassador, you sign up a new ambassador, I think it's vital to get an event, some sort of something. It doesn't have to be like the event where someone's standing in the front. It doesn't necessarily even have to be a Facebook thing. It could be a lunch. It could be a three-way call. It could be a Facebook chat. It could be anything. But I think you need to create that sense of urgency, because when you do that, even leading up to an event, and I know you guys probably do a lot of online events, don't you? Is that kind of what you do with Facebook and that? I think you need to build up to it. So like, you post the event, or like for us, we share the event, and then 2 weeks out, we're inviting, and then a week out, it's like we're really pushing with a lot of testimonials on the event page and this and that. And then, that last 3 or 4 days, because people are very, very busy, even up to that day of it, I think you need to have some like kind of power punch that day, whatever that would be. And it's going to be different for each thing. Like, we've only got 50 seats in the room, hurry and RSVP, or we've only got, so many spots on this online event. And that's just a suggestion. You don't have to do that all the time, but if you're really trying to push, I know a lot of people in this industry, they'll say, they'll start working through their list, and they'll say, I wanted to call you first because I've got 20 other people I'm calling. The person's going to take that as a compliment, number one, but number two, they're going to think, oh no, she's going to call 20 other people. I got to find out what this is. So I like to talk about that sense of urgency.
I like that. And it works, because I did the 7-day trial challenge, and I would say I have 3 spots left. And like 15 people were like, I want those 3 spots. So I think that's huge. It works. I've seen it work for sure. Jana, how do we effectively promote? Any ideas?
Well, I love that, promoting online thing and building up to stuff. That's really huge. I think it's so important, like what Angie said, to invite. And we need to really learn the art of inviting. And inviting is part of promoting. And, just getting that individual invitation. Really, I have 30-something level ones. Would it really be that hard for me to text message each one of those level ones and say, I would love it if you came on the call tonight. I think it would really help your business. Or this event that's going on in your town, would you be willing to go to that? Because I would love for you to take notes for me if it's somebody that's not local to you. One thing that's really important, and we may talk about this a little bit later. I don't know if you have this in your notes, Jessica, but one thing I wanted to talk about is, because we aren't all local, you really need to make sure that you're involved in groups that are going to tell you what the events are that, because it doesn't necessarily have to be an event that you put on that benefits you. Because since we all work together and we all help each other, I could send somebody to a event in Angie's hometown in Illinois. She could be doing an event, and I could have somebody, as well as she could send somebody to one of mine. So all of the jewels have meetings all over the United States, but we can't be, we don't even know about what town you live in or what state, but if you will go to the nearest city and just like type into Facebook, whatever your big city is, and then hit training group or Plexus events, you can usually find a Facebook group that is for that city. For instance, for Dallas, there's one that's called DFW. I also have one for Dallas that's for our particular group, and I try to post the events that I see in the Jules group or in the DFW group. I try to post those in the Dallas group that I have for my team. But that's because I'm local. I hear about a lot of the local events. But if you're in San Francisco, you need to be on the San Francisco if they have one. I found one for Houston. Usually almost every town or big city, I know Oklahoma City has one. And so you need to see what you're in, what the closest big city, how far are you willing to drive? Then you should be in all of those cities that you're willing to drive to those cities. And so, for instance, I have a team in Houston. So if I see a meeting in Houston, I might message one of my level ones and say, hey, Kelly, there's this meeting that's pretty close to you. You should go to this because it could help you do your own meetings. You could take some notes for me because I would love to learn from it too. And so just really inviting people to go to the things with you or even without you if you can't go to that one. And also for the calls, promoting the calls. Especially if you have a new ambassador that could really benefit from a particular call, message them and say, would you come on the call with me tonight? Even if you're not the one doing it, even if it's Jessica that's doing the call, you could message your level ones and say, hey, I would love for you to be on this call tonight. It's going to be really great. We've got Diamond Ambassador Angie Thompson on, and she's going to be talking about events, and I think it would really help your business. Would you come on with me? And do it as a team. That really personally invite you. Be shocked at how much a personal invitation means to somebody rather than just seeing it on the groups. But I think it's also great to promote it in the groups too. When you see a meeting, tag people in it. It doesn't matter. They need to be tagged and they need to be invited because the more they see it, the more apt they are to join you.
I think that's great. And I think that's so important. My next question was how to invite right. So I think you got that covered. So we'll move on to the next one because I think it's so important, that personal touch. We've all heard, a lot of us have heard Celeste Gwen, how she personally invites people. So I think that personal touch is huge.
Let me tell you something about Celeste.
Picking up the call phone, right?
Let me tell you something about Celeste real quick. I'm not in Celeste downline at all, but since I moved to Dallas, I live about an hour and a half from her. And she knows I'm in Dallas now. So she personally invites me to stuff. I don't know if she's got this, I don't know what she does, but she personally invites people to stuff. And I'll get a text message from Celeste Gwen and it'll say, we're having lunch at so-and-so. I'd love for you to join me there. I mean, it's so personal and it makes you feel so good to get that personal invitation that you're going to respond to it somehow. Either I can't make it this time, thanks for inviting me, or I'd love to make it, but it makes you feel really good to get that personal invitation from somebody.
Yeah.
That's true.
I think it's huge. So I think the next kind of event we need to talk about is team meetings. And what rank do you think, a couple of questions here, what rank do you think you should start team meetings? Do you start at silver? Do you start at gold? I know I'm throwing you a curveball, Jana. We didn't talk about this one. But what rank, because I think that's important. I have a lot of my ambassadors say, should I wait till gold to start having my weekly meetings? Because you want to touch base with your team on a consistent basis. How often should you touch base with them? And what do you talk about? I mean, because they're going to be on the training calls. Do you have training calls, or do you just have a kind of forum where you get on a Zoom and we kind of discuss what's going on? How's it going? Do you have any questions? Do you do one-on-one? Do you have team? I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but I think it's important to know we have a lot of people who have just started and they may have one person, two people, three, or they may be gold and they're like, I'm not having team meetings. Should I? Will that propel me to senior gold? Will that propel me to ruby? So Angie, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Okay. I think you should start right away doing something because if someone took the time to sign up with you, to spend money on a welcome kit and put some effort into that, I think right away you should start with them. Now, Do you get the response from every person the same? No. Some people will be like, I don't want to talk to you right now. I don't want to talk to you for 3 months. Some people will lock arms with you. And I think you just have to take whatever you can get from the person. You know, it's easy for us to want them to rank advance faster than they want it for themselves. But I think you have to be very consistent as a leader. It's kind of like running, again, your own business. Are you just going to like open it and never put an ad in the paper or advertise or talk to customers? Are you never going to do anything? Your business is going to fail. It's the same way with Plexus. You know, I know a lot of people say, oh, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. And I think a better way to say that is it's not like a job. You still do have to do things, you know, and the more you put into your people, I think the more you will get out. But you're just going to have to understand, if you're new, understand, do not get disappointed when someone says, I don't want to come to a meeting, I don't want to have a lunch with you, and I don't want to do a 3-way call. Just let me do what I want to do. And I've had lots of that in my team. And then you're going to have those people that just go and do it, right, Jana? I'm sure you guys have both had people like that. They just go, and you're like, what in the world? They're just doing awesome. So I think starting right away, I don't think you want to wait for anything, because just being real and honest with you, if you start and stop this business and start and stop how you follow up with your ambassadors and start and stop how you follow up with your customers, you're not going to do anything in this business. I think you have to be very consistent. And, you know, if I hired you at my store to be a manager over 10 people, think about it that way. If I hired you to be a manager over 10 salespeople, what would you do every week? Because I'm expecting you to produce sales numbers. So what are you going to do? You're probably going to have a team call once a week. You're probably going to have some, hey, let's get together after work tonight and just socialize or whatever. I don't know. And everybody's different how they do that. But I think if you can look at it that way, I think you'll be very, very effective. But I definitely wouldn't wait. If you have one person, you need to start something, whatever that is for you. We're all different in how we've built our business. One thing I do want to say, and Jana, you might be the same, but for me, I found a diamond. At that time, there was no diamonds. I found an emerald that I could relate to, and I just watched what she did, and I followed it. And obviously, I'd have little spin-offs of things that I wanted to do a little bit different, but overall, I watched her do events. I watched how she worked with her team. I watched how she worked with her new ambassadors. I reached out to her. I'm not on her team, but I did reach out to her several times and say, how should I do this or how should I do that? And she was quick to give me a quick response back and help me. So,
Jana. I love it.
I totally agree with that. And I think really what it is, it's all about connections and the connections you make with your team. And, you know, you should be connecting all of your people to each other, because the more we do this as a team, the quicker you're going to advance. So a while ago, when Angie was talking about promoting, and she was talking about urgency, you know, you can help each other out with that urgency. When you're having a team meeting and you have 5 people that come in and say, well, I'll be there, you're going to have much higher chance of other people wanting to come and wanting to be there if they know it's a popular event. So you can help each other out. I would suggest, as soon as I always suggest, you know, obviously you're going to have, if you sign on 3 level 1s, you're going to have contact with all 3 of those level 1s. Like Angie said, you should be pouring in that to them from the very beginning, whatever it is that they want out of it. You've got to let them go at their own pace, like she said. But the ones that really want to do this with you, you know, you need to pour into them and spend time with them and develop a relationship, because I can tell you the people on my team that have really been successful are the ones that wanted my connection and they wanted me to pour into them, and I poured into them, and we developed a very strong relationship. And so that connection, what I always suggest people to do is, once you get, you know, 2 people under you, start a Facebook chat with those 2 people so that they can start building a relationship with each other. Because the more people that they have to follow and to duplicate, like what Angie said, she's got people that she duplicates, the more people that you have to connect with, the more it creates a team culture. And so as you're building, even if it's a very small team, you want to connect those people to each other. And so you start, you go silver. Now you have 3 people in your chat. You're going to know when it gets to the point where, wait, I need to create an actual group for my people because this chat's going strong and people are talking and people are missing stuff and it's going really, great. Then that's when you need to start a team group. I think that you're going to know when it's time for you to start calls. Like Angie said, if you feel like it's time to have, if you're silver and you feel like it's time. However, if you're silver and all 3 of your people show up to the bigger team calls every single week and you're pouring into them, you don't have to start your calls right then if you don't feel ready. And I know Angie does the same thing, but like Jessica, not all gold ambassadors are ready to do calls every week. But Jessica jumped right in there. And I mean, she's one of those people that you just talked about that just went, they're like, they don't really need your help. They don't care. They're going to do it with or without you. And so, you love those people. They're just awesome. But not every gold needs to do a call every week because we have calls. And Angie, for your team, you have calls. And so you can plug them into other calls if you're not ready for that yet. But I think you're going to know when it's time, when your team really needs to have calls. But I always encourage people to stay on the bigger team calls too, because you're going to learn things that you wouldn't necessarily learn on a smaller call. And, the Zoom thing is free up until a certain amount of people. And so you could have a Zoom account for free and you could have just you could have a 10-minute, we're going to have a 10-minute Zoom call with my 3 people and we're going to all get on and whoever wants to get on can, and we're going to connect each other. And that's for those calls, I think, and Angie, you can tell me if you agree with this. Those calls to me are more relational, and you may not be doing training, per se on that call because they may be getting their training from a bigger call group. But if you can get people to show up on those calls, if they have any questions, they can ask questions at that time. But they can also get to know each other as well as spend time with you.
I think it's huge. And I started calls pretty early in my, but I'm a little different. Angie, you don't know my story. I joined for the business. So I was a manager. I had 35 employees and I never saw my kids. And so I wanted to be home. And I saw something, an opportunity that I couldn't pass up. And so I joined for the business, a little freebie for everybody. So I'm a little bit of a different breed. A lot of people join for the products. Of course, I needed to lose weight. I lost 40 pounds and that's fantastic. And I'm still going. But I joined for the business. And so that's why I don't play. There's not time for that. And it's changing lives, and the products have changed my lives, and I'm not going to hold that to myself. So I think, speaking of not holding it to ourselves, I think it's important that we talk about sip and sees. So we have, like Jana talked about earlier, this area, I think, I know I have one Friday. I've done a sip and see almost every single weekend for Jana's downline here. And it's actually not even my team. I help another team in her downline just do the sip and see. So I think I've seen them work. I've seen people, like every single person sign up. I've seen every single person get on. Either they're going to sign up or they're going to order. So I've seen them be successful. And so I just want to talk a little bit about, we're going to talk about what to do. And then I'm going to ask you guys what not to do at a sip and see, because I think that can be done wrong. We want to make sure they're duplicatable. So we want to make sure we talk about what not to do as well. So I'm going to talk about first what to do. What do you think we should, what do you do, Angie? I mean, what do you guys do? Do y'all have sip and sees? What do you do at them? What's like your normal routine, and how is it successful?
Okay. Yeah. That's how we built our business.
Wow.
When we started. We had an event every Monday night. And so we started adding ambassadors, and they started adding ambassadors, and it was like no one knew what to do or where to go, but we all had all this stuff we wanted to tell everyone, and we weren't using social media at the time. And so we would do every Monday night, we would have an event, and the more we did, the better and more effective we got. At the beginning, they lasted way too long, but we were so excited that we had so much to say.
I love it.
But what we do is I think it's really important to just be like hands-on with people. You know, people don't want this like perfect little box of a thing. They want you to be real. And so, you know, all of us know a little bit something different about each and every product, the way we explain it. And I personally love to go to other people's events because I love to hear how they talk about the product. I mean, if there's an event close to me and it's not anyone in our team or even people that I don't know, if I can get to it, I go because I want to hear what they have to say about the products. But what I do now is I have a simple slideshow that I do, and our events don't last any more than an hour. I think it's really important to keep it within an hour or so, because unless it's a big event, if it's just like that, you know, 5, 10, 20 people, I think you need to keep it within an hour because everyone is so busy. Make it as fun as you can, make it as interesting as you can, you know, have as many testimonies as you can, because you guys know as well as I do that that's what builds this business. And, you know, you can get up there and give all the facts about every product that we have, but that's not what people are interested in. They want to hear the testimonies. So I just watched a live event tonight on Periscope. I think it's in Tulsa or somewhere, and I couldn't even see who was speaking, but the girl talked about the triplex. And right after that, she had 3 people come up and give their testimony about the triplex. And that's not how we do it. And I loved that, because after each product, she would pull the person to give their testimony about that. And I thought that was a great way to do it. But we always have testimonials. We zip through the products. We do talk about the triplex. We spend most of our time on that system. And we try to keep it as fun and simple and easy to understand as we can.
I'm taking notes. I love it. Most of the time on the triplex. I know that I like the testimonies on the products. We've done that as well, Jana. With Jana and I do a lot of the sip and sees together. And so a lot of times we'll be like, hey, what's your favorite product? Because if they're passionate about it and it's their favorite and it's something, hey, this stuff is making me hit, I can sleep, I'm not in pain anymore. They're going to be the ones you want to share the ease. So you want to give that to them and have them share the ease, and they can give a quick testimony about that product. So we've seen that as well. That's one of my favorite ways to do it with the testimonies, is have them share their favorite products. So Jana, I know we've done a lot together here, and you didn't really do any in Oklahoma, did you?
Mm-mm.
No. So your first ones were here.
I think that maybe we did one opportunity meeting, but it was after I was already diamond. But I will say I totally agree with Angie in that you know, it's so important to go to these things. And even if you are our diamond ambassador, like she said, you know, I will go, and you know, Jessica, I will go to any event there is. I don't care if a silver ambassador is putting it on. I want to go because I can learn from them. You know, just what these calls, you know, it may be about the comp plan, and you may be like a Ted and you know everything about the comp plan, but you could still learn from the way they explain it. And so, like, I'll go to an opportunity meeting of anybody's doing, and it doesn't matter if I've heard it 50 times before. It helps me every time, because every time I go, I feel more comfortable. And so if it's a sip and see, I'm going to try to go to it if I can. If it's somewhere local, I'm going to try to go to it. It doesn't matter what rank I am, because it also builds belief to go to these things, to see people with their testimonies. But like she said, you know, you don't have to be a diamond ambassador to do one of these things. You don't have to have a diamond ambassador there. We talked about in Maui, the trainer lady told us, and we all were like, that's so awesome. You could do an opportunity meeting at a table with 3 other people with a catalog. And you could just go through the catalog together, and you can read what the products do. And you could get on a computer and look at before and after testimonials and watch videos together. It doesn't have to be a set in stone way of doing it. It can be whatever you feel comfortable. If you don't feel comfortable standing in front of a room, sit at a table with however many people that are willing to come and just share your heart. I mean, that's what it's all about. That's what people really want to hear, is what we like about the products, what we like about the opportunity. And so it doesn't have to be, and what's great about that, and like what Angie said, you have a slideshow. What's great about that is that anybody can do that. And the most important thing with any event is to make sure it's duplicatable, because we don't want to get up there and do something that a lot of people can't do. I mean, that's the whole thing with network marketing. We need to be able to get a lot of people to do some simple things. And so to make it as simple as possible is the key thing. But to be able to do that, you need to go to events. And going to events is crucial for your growth in the company, because it really makes you believe in the product. And we went to all the Plexus sponsored events when I first started. We went to everything that we could go to. We didn't have any, but we went to them. As many as I could find, I went to, and especially like online, as many as I could. That's what I was going to say earlier about the calls are just as important to be on as going to these events, is being on calls. And, you know, just like I said before, you could feel like you know everything about the subject they're talking about, but still hearing it one more time is going to help you. I mean, hearing it from Angie helps me, because she may say something in a way that I haven't thought of before, or she may have an idea that I haven't thought of before. When we're diamonds and we're together, we're just like soaking information from each other, because we're just like learning so much. And so it's great for any Plexus ambassadors to get together and share ideas is huge for us. But being on the calls, everybody should be on these calls. Even if doesn't matter what rank you are, you should be on these calls, because you learn something every time and it builds your belief. And also, if you're on the calls, your downline is going to be more apt to be on the calls. You know, if you just send all your people to the calls and say, you know, please go learn all this with Jessica, you know, they're not going to see what your effort is in it. They're not going to see that you're wanting to come to the calls too. And that makes a huge difference when a leader is participating and going to things with their team and being on calls with their team.
Absolutely.
Totally off the subject, but that's what I'm saying.
No, I love it. Absolutely. Even if you can't be on it live, watch it on YouTube or watch it later, and then go and say, hey, I learned this on the call. Did you learn this too? What did you get out of it? Because everybody's going to hear differently, and they're going to get something different. So it's so important to do that.
I will say, now that you say that, it is, if you can be on a call live, it is so much better. I mean, yeah. We've said this lots of times before, and the reason why is because the excitement, like Angie was saying, the urgency that you create when a call is live, if there is any way possible for you to be on a call live, you should definitely be on live. If there's not, if you're working or if you're at a family event, that's totally understandable. But if you can be on a call live, it's so much better. For one thing, a lot of times we have every good intention of going back and listening, and then we don't. I mean, I'm guilty of it myself. I'm much more apt to listen to it and be on if I'm going to be on it live than to go on and listen to it later. That's one of the main reasons. But just the excitement that it creates for that many people to be on a call at one time, if in any way possible, try to be on the calls when they're actually being presented.
Absolutely. Hey, Angie, I have a couple of questions for you, going back to you. Where did you hold your Monday night? You said you had Monday nights every single Monday night. Where were they?
I did it a couple different places. When we started, we did it inside of our furniture store.
Okay.
And, you know, it grew and grew. And so then we did it. There's a restaurant called Los Amigos. It's a Mexican restaurant, and they have a little back room, and we would do it there. Mm-hmm.
And it was just a consistent Monday night thing.
And you know what was great about that? Now we try to do one a month, but at the time we were in big momentum at the time, really growing our local team here. And what was great is that those people, our team, they knew every Monday night there was an actual event. And so I think that that's good as a leader. You know, if even if you just have one ambassador, you're a leader in this company. If you just have one ambassador, that means, okay, you're in the game now. And I think it's important to do something, you know, do whatever you can do. But the one thing I wanted to just kind of piggyback off what Jana said is, like, going to events and supporting each other, going and all of that, the edification in this business is so crucial. You know, like when Janet messaged me today and we were talking about this, I was like, absolutely. And I said, can I invite my team? And she said, absolutely, you know, and it was just like, you know, I know anybody in this company I can call or ask something, you know, and as long as it's as long as they've got time to answer me back, they will. But going to the events, if there is an event, you get that edification. So if you bring a guest or you bring a brand new ambassador and they see this room full of, I think it's really important to don't just do everything online, because you need to have that, like, it's almost like going to church. Like, you can watch church on TV and you can watch it on the web, but when you get there in the presence of the music and the atmosphere and the other people there, and of course God shows up, but that's just a good way to explain it, because when you come to a Plexus event, you're all there and you develop relationships and you're edifying each other and you're hearing these things, and it's so important to feed yourself. Again, kind of like church, you have to feed your soul. And with your Plexus business, you have to feed it a little bit. You can't just expect everything to just happen. You've got to get it from all different directions. You need it from your upline, your sideline, your downline, someone not even on your team. You need some from corporate. You need to soak in as much as you can, because you're going to find something's going to click with you and you're going to say, that's me. That's how I need to build my business. I can take a little bit of what Jana said, a little bit of what Angie said, a little bit of what Sheila said, or whoever you're interested in. And then you can become you, and you can be the leader that you need to be for your team, and even with the events and that sort of thing. Sorry,
No, I love it. I think that's perfect. And I think to piggyback on that is to practice. That's what I go and I do sip and sees for other teams, like I said, and I'm not really building my team, I'm building theirs. And of course we're one Plexus, and I'm good at getting in front of people and doing that, so I don't mind. But it's also practice for me, and it's helping me when I get to that point where I'm going to be doing them every single weekend. I'm ready. I'm already ready. So I think it's practice and really getting your hands into it. And some people are like, I can't do this. I'm not ready. I'm not good in front of people. Well, just do it, because the more you do it, the better you're going to get. And the more the fear is going to go away, and it's just going to be second nature. Jana and I could get up and do one right now without even talking to each other, because it's second nature to us, because we've practiced. So I think that's huge. I know we're running out of time. So I do want to hit on what not to do, because we've hit on what to do. So I do want to touch that for a second, because I think that's important, because I think we can do things that aren't duplicatable, and I really think we have to hit that. Don't you think, Jana? Before we go, we need to hit what not to do. So Jana, you want to start what not to do?
Well, I think a lot of it depends on, your own market, what your own people are going to do in your particular area or your contact base. I think that making for sure that it's duplicatable is the main thing. And for your particular people, it may be completely acceptable to, have a big party and have food and, giveaways and prizes and stuff like that. But if it's not, it's okay. It's good to know. I can hear a little bit of feedback, Jessica. I think it might be your microphone. I'm not sure. But it's important to do what your particular market is. You may have a market that somebody goes to a party like that and they think, I can't afford to do all this food. I can't afford to give away, a triplex every time. Make sure that if you are doing things that cost money, that you also do things that don't cost a lot. And so make sure people know that they can do it sitting around a table with a catalog, and they don't have to have, they could put out a bowl of pretzels and have some little samples of pink drink. They don't have to have a catered meal, but if that works in your particular home to do a sip and see like that, then, great, do it. But always know that what the people that are coming to that need to be able to do exactly what you're doing. So everyone that's coming to that needs to know that they can do the same thing what you're doing. So you got to make it, just like we said earlier, duplicatable for real. I mean, to me, that's the most important not to do, is to do something that somebody else can't duplicate.
Yeah, and I think it's important to know you don't have to do these.
Right.
You don't have to do the sip and sees. That's not something you have to do. We talked about that earlier, saying it's not something you have to do. Mm-hmm. It's so important.
I'm going to ask Angie a question. When you do the sip and seas, Angie, do you do those at people's homes, or do you mostly do those at neutral locations?
I have done it a lot of different ways. I've done meetings at Panera Bread with 4 people around a table with a catalog. I had another girl that could not, she had a couple that she knew this lady would fall in love with a probiotic because she had a son that was very, very sick with his gut health, but could not get her to come to anything. And so I said, do you think she would come if you had something at your house? Not even like an event, but like a cookout. And she said, yeah, I think so. And so I went to her house one night, um, just, like we were going to a cookout. Her husband had made some barbecue. We sat down at the kitchen table. The kids were running around like crazy. It was the couple that invited me over, an ambassador and their 2 little kids, and they invited their friend, husband and wife, and their 2 kids. And I just sat there. We ate, and then at the end of dinner, the lady said, would you share with my friend just a few things about the products and what they could possibly do for her and her son? And it was very, very casual. And I can tell you, out of 3 years of doing events, I don't know why that one thing sticks out at me, but they have cattle and they're farmers, and I went out to their farmhouse and we sat there at their kitchen table. The kids were running all over the place. It was the most, there was nothing formal about it at all. We ate and then we just chit-chatted about the products. And, the lady that she came on board, it took a few weeks for her though. It has changed her life. It's changed her son's life. And that is one for me in 3 years. That is one that sticks out to me the most, because it was it was just like going over to someone's house for dinner. That's what it was. And it was very, very effective. The events that we have had, though, it was the typical, a table at the front of the room with all the products on it, and you stand up there and talk about the products. One thing that I wish I would have done more at the beginning, I will tell you this, is that I wish I would have got more of my level 1s to do it with me instead of just me talking about it all the time and then bringing people and giving their testimonies. I wish I would have, if I could go back and do something different, that is one thing that I would do. I would have just not pressured them, but said, just come on, help me, let's do this together. Because we look back now and like, we cannot believe some of the events that we had. We had no idea what we were doing at all. But I wish I would have locked arms more with a lot of my level 1s to do the events together. Quicker, now we do events together. A lot of us do, but I wish I would have done that more at the beginning. One other thing that I want to talk about, and I haven't had anyone in my team do this, and I'm sure, Jana, you haven't had anyone in your team do this, but there have been people that have done this. So I'm just going to give a little free advice, okay? Don't be drinking a Starbucks when you're talking about Plexus. Don't have your soda up there. You need to think about what you are promoting, health and wellness. And I had a lady tell me that she had sent one of her new ambassadors to an event, and the girl was holding a Starbucks cup the whole time she was doing the event. We need to be what we have. And I think that's very important. Like, I noticed you guys both drinking your water tonight and that sort of thing. We want to offer the drink. Make sure you're offering the drink if you're doing an actual event there. What we used to do is we'd have a little platter with, when we'd have those events in our store at the restaurant, with samples on it. Make sure you get people to have fun with trying the drink. That's our flagship product. That's very, very important. Don't just get up there and talk about a bunch of stuff. Let the product do the work. It tastes great. It's so simple. There's that picture floating around. What if one sip changed everything? And that's really the truth for so many of us. So that's very important. if you are doing an event in front of people, like there's the table and, I would urge you to dress like a professional, however that is for you in your area. If it's at a home party or that, it's not that important, but I think that we're representing a very, very important part of our business. We're representing our corporate, we're representing Plexus, we're representing these amazing products that we have. And I think it's important to be the best that we can be when we are presenting to people. I went to an event once and there was a girl and she came in with kind of raggedy old blue jeans on and tennis shoes and a t-shirt. And I thought, I don't mean to be judgmental in any way, but I think that we as leaders need to really present ourselves as leaders, especially in a big event like that. Now, when I went to the cattle farm, I wasn't in a dress shoes or any of that. I was going to a cookout, but keep that in mind. And those would probably be the only don'ts that I have.
Well, I would say also don't, just like we don't on Facebook, don't give medical advice. We got to be careful not to, we got to be careful to tell people with, for instance, like the boost and accelerator, if they have high blood pressure, to run it by their doctor first. Everything that you do on Facebook, you should do in person as well, because like Angie said, we're representing the company. And so the stuff that we say at the meetings should be the same kind of stuff that we say on Facebook. And if it's something that isn't something we're supposed to talk about, we can't talk about diseases, and we can't say that the product cures diseases or anything like that. So we need to be wary of that kind of thing too. But one thing we didn't talk about is Plexus events, and that's like huge, and like Angie said earlier, it can mean the difference in somebody's business going forward or not, just by going to a Plexus event. And that is so huge. That's one thing getting to Diamond that I did do is I did go to Plexus events anytime I could find one or be near one. And that is huge. We always say in the business that leaders are born at events. And I've seen it happen with my own eyes. Like Angie was saying earlier, it's a lot of it is relatable to church. You have to put into it what you're going to get out of it. And when you go to these meetings that Plexus puts on, you see, for me, it was like seeing that it's a really reputable company. They're there, they're putting on this training and they're doing these things, whether it's Super Saturday or convention, any of the things that you can get to that is a Plexus sponsored event. If you bring somebody to something like that, you can just expect great things from them, because they could walk in there being a non-believer in Plexus and walk out of there being a believer. It's just like earlier when Angie was saying, when people start sharing their testimonies, it's hard to walk out of there not believing, because it's such a phenomenal thing to see people's lives being changed like that. So Plexus events are huge, 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 and we all believe in those, and it's something we for sure will do.
I have one more thing I was just thinking about, and then I know we're running over on time,
okay.
But you guys know that Super Saturday is coming up in January. And so a lot of leaders in network marketing talk about going on a 90-day blitz, like, making a list of 100 new people and trying to, invite and work through that list. You guys know we're the 1st of October. Super Saturday, I think, is the 9th of January. Is that right? Mm-hmm. And so I would find where those events are, post that in your team pages, where those events are, and really go on a 90-day push for that event, because on Friday night, there's going to be an opportunity event. Last year, I was in New York, Albany, New York, and I could not believe the testimonies I was hearing there. I was like, oh man, I wish I had everyone here. So you guys know that huge event is coming up, and those are the best events to get new people to bring guests to, and that's going to be on a Friday night, the Friday night before, I think it's January the 8th. So work on that 90-day blitz of building up to that event, because that's a really good way to do it. And if you're new and you don't know how to do that, there's the Go Pro book you can get. Jana and the leaders in your team I know can help. And then Rock Your Network Marketing Business, she talks about going, Sarah Robbins, on that 90-day blitz. We're right. I just was looking at my calendar. I thought, we're right here. We're ready to do that as a company. So, build up to that event. Because that event then will close the deal for a lot of things for you, whether it's just your belief, whether it's getting someone on board that maybe is thinking about it. You can be building and talking, and then hopefully get them to that event. So I would go on a 90-day blitz if I were you guys.
Same thing, personally invite to both of those things, the Friday night thing and the Saturday thing. You would be surprised at what a personal invitation would do. And same thing, mention it to them now and keep talking about it between now and then. And, right before, say, hey, are you still going to go with me to that thing? Because, that personal invite can make all the difference in the world. I totally agree.
Yeah, that's huge. I wrote that down, 90-day blitz. I think that's huge. It can really change your game. It can change what's going on. And maybe you have events that lead up to that, and people that don't sign at those events, you say, hey, we're having this. You have to come to this with me. It's going to be so awesome. You don't want to miss it. Maybe ambassadors that aren't active or that really aren't working the business like you guys. Y'all signed up, both of you, for the products. So maybe it's somebody who signed up for the products and say, hey, y'all are doing these amazing products. I'm making this much money. Come check it out, or I'm making money on this. You've got to come check this out. So I think that would be huge. I think that's huge, and I love that. I'm going to definitely 90-day blitz it. I know a lot of you guys are too. So we're going to go ahead and come to a close. I don't have any question. Rod says hi. He loves you, Angie, and your husband, and he's so excited. That's the only question we have on here is Rod. So I'm
so picture real quick. Can you guys go smile? Okay. I have that for a selfie.
Thank you, Angie. I know, right?
Thank you so much. It was an awesome call. Thanks for asking me to join in.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for taking your time on your Tuesday night, and I'm so excited that your team jumped on hey guys, the best is yet to come, and I'm excited about where we're going and the things that are coming ahead for Plexus and for our team. So all right guys, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Thanks, Angie. I appreciate it.
Thank
I'll
you.
send the recording so you can post it, and we'll post it in our group as well. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Thanks, Jessica. You did awesome too.
Thank you all.